British politics in 2019 is just a never-ending competition where each party tries to call the others racist as frequently as possible. The Tories are Islamophobic, Labour are anti-Semitic, and so on and so on. The worst thing about this, of course, is while politicians squabble and insult each other all day long, trying to prove how not racist they all are, the majority of the country, the British people, are ignored completely, further contributing to the apathy that infects the entire society. But while most would expect these pathetic shenanigans from the Labour Party and the Conservatives, it seems like even the Brexit Party can't help but engaging in this madness as well. The supposed one-issue party that should have the cleanest message of all is now willingly stripping off and bathing in the mud with the rest of the establishment, by using the upcoming election as an opportunity to pander and bend over for racial minority groups at the expense of us, the majority. Does this mean that just like in America, we also have a fake right in the UK? Oh, say it ain't so. At the time of me recording this video, the Brexit Party will be standing in Labour constituencies in the upcoming election. Today, I want to focus on one of those constituencies, just one, with one particular candidate, as this demonstrates everything that has gone wrong in this country, and while the whole racial dynamic of our society is incredibly important and will continue to grow in importance, despite how many times the so-called right-wing claim it doesn't matter. Well, it does, guys. You either admit it or become a victim of it. So let us go to Tottenham in London, a Labour stronghold, its MP being no other than our favourite race baiter, David Lammy. It's a constituency that has undergone radical demographic change, with white Brits making up just 22% in the 2011 census, and that's a long time ago now, so that number will be even lower. It is a haven for violent gang and drug crime. It was the centrepiece in the 2011 London riots, and in the EU referendum it voted 76% in favour for Remain. So, one might think, the logical side of your brain might think that the Brexit Party would be better off focusing on other parts of the country, right? I mean, Tottenham is simply a no-go zone, so to speak. They'd be better off targeting working-class towns in the north, right? Well, you would be wrong. So wrong. But don't worry. The Brexit Party has a cunning plan to win over the hearts and minds of Tottenham's best and brightest. That's right. They found their own black candidate to run against David Lammy. Genius. See guys, we're not racist, we've got a black guy too, look. It's almost as if racial bias and identity is a thing. I mean, why not run a white guy for Tottenham? No, I'm serious, if ideas and values are really that powerful, if they're the only things that really matter, then the Brexit Party should be taking a colourblind approach to this. But no. They're not doing that. They're running a man named Abdul Toure because he is black. And Tottenham is home to a huge black population. Simple as that. Let's not deny this anymore, shall we? Now, I'll get into Abdul in a second, but I just want to say that the Brexit Party has absolutely no chance whatsoever of winning this seat. David Lammy will storm to a majority as he has done since the year 2000. This is a massive waste of time. But I needed to talk about this because the messaging Abdul Toure and the Brexit Party are communicating here is extremely worrying and it needs to be examined. In recent weeks, Abdul has written a couple of articles, one for Spiked Online and another for The Voice, where he has laid out his vision for a post-Brexit Britain, and yes, it completely relies on a racially collectivist mindset and omits simple truths about the reasons Brexit won and the mood of the majority. So let's dive in, shall we? Let's start with the Spiked article. It's a gem. Why I'm standing against David Lammy. Brexit Party candidate Abdul Toure on the myth that Brexit is a racist enterprise. Straight away in the subheading here, Please don't call us racist. Please don't. We're not racist. Look at me, I'm black. We've got a black guy to run for the Brexit Party. Please be kind. I just have less and less tolerance for this sort of thing. Excuse me, we'll continue. Just days after Britain voted to leave the European Union in June 2016, David Lammy, Labour MP for Tottenham, demanded that Parliament ignore the referendum result. Yes, Lammy's a prick, nothing new here. This is not surprising. David Lammy is one of Parliament's most ardent Remainers. Since the Brexit vote, he has compared Brexiteers to Nazis and continually suggested that Brexit supporters were motivated by racism. Lammy's view is not unique. Many in the media and in the Remainer army also believe that Brexit was racist and xenophobic. This is such an outrageous lie. It is staggering that so many people have bought it for so long. As the Brexit Party's prospective parliamentary candidate for Tottenham, I intend to challenge this ugly narrative. Go on then, mate. Go on, Abdul. You have my ears. I wonder how you're planning on selling this to your brothers and sisters in Tottenham. I'm sure it won't involve selling the rest of us out. For all the talk about racist Britain, the EU is simply not diverse. The EU is a protectionist club that prevents Britain from trading freely with the rest of the non-white world. It is also predominantly white, and European institutions in Brussels and Strasbourg are disproportionately white and male. Oh dear me. So, what Abdul is doing here is he's already describing the future of a less white Britain, and he's doing it in a positive way. Black people should be against the EU because it's full of whites. White men specifically, and oh my god, they're just not very nice. There's a whole non-white world out there that Britain should be mixing with. This is essentially what he's saying here. Black people, the EU is too white, so let's get out. You know where this is going, it gets better, it really does. Brexit is not about immigration. Brexit is about sovereignty and democracy. But even if we do have to talk about EU immigration, that too is white. Many of the immigrants to Britain over the past 15 years have been white people from former Eastern Bloc countries. Britain's Polish community is now over 800,000 according to the Office for National Statistics, and Polish is now the second most widely spoken language in the UK after English. Firstly, Abdul, Brexit was about all of those things, all three. For you to say that immigration played no part in people voting to leave is simply a lie. It's simply a lie, and you know it. You know it. Immigration, it was a key aspect of Farage's referendum campaign, for God's sake. Nigel Farage, you know, the guy who leads the party you're running in an election for. Did that slip your mind? Secondly, yes, a lot of Polish people have come here. Too many, I admit. I want immigration down across the board. Lots of Eastern Europeans, but according to the very same Office for National Statistics that you cite, most of the migration into the UK over the past several years has actually come from outside the EU. Non-EU migration is actually at a 15-year high right now. These people will mainly be non-white. But hey, go ahead. Go ahead and rally the people of Tottenham behind the promise of fewer whites coming here regardless. That's a great way to sell the Brexit Party. And yes, I would like to remind you all listening that this guy is, in fact, representing the Brexit Party. Just so we remember exactly what we're up against in Britain. There's no true body that represents the majority in this country. Oh, Brexit had nothing to do with immigration. Fuck off. Honestly, just fuck off. What are you talking about? Britain is not like other European nations. It has historical and cultural ties with many other parts of the world. My roots, for instance, lie in the Commonwealth. But Britain turned its back on the Commonwealth when it joined the European Union. In doing so, Britain turned its back on families like my own. Britain should leave the European Union and rebuild its ties with the Commonwealth nations as a partnership of equals. We would be free to trade with and invest in the Commonwealth. It's funny to me that, I don't know about you, but this is sounding more and more like a leftist lunatic who's trying to convince you that Britain's always been a nation of immigrants, right? It's got that tone about it. But no, Abdul, no. The fact that we once had a big empire doesn't mean that Britain is less European than other European countries. For God's sake, it doesn't mean that we have more in common with non-European countries. Because we don't. Sorry to break it to you. We have more in common with Western Europe, both in a cultural sense, a genetic sense, everything. But to get back to your Commonwealth nations that you want us to be closer to, well, looking at this list, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but most of these countries aren't doing so great. Oh yeah, sure, Australia and Canada, love those guys. But there's a little difference between them and places such as Uganda, Bangladesh, Mozambique. And the difference, Abdul, is ethnic Europeans. Those damned white people. Australia and Canada succeeded because of the people who stayed there to build them. The other countries failed for the same reason. Look at the populations of these places, Abdul. They're not the same. I know you're excited by trading with the non-white world, as you put it, but I can't say I'm too enthused by it myself. Looking at this list, it will be a one-sided partnership, and the British people, the majority of the British people who voted for Brexit, will be the ones footing the bill. The EU, however, has done nothing for Africa, Asia, or Latin America. I defy Lammy or anyone else to name even one way that an Asian or black person benefits from EU membership. While David Lammy claims to stand for BAME people, all he really cares about is hobnobbing with his high-powered friends in Europe. In this election, I hope to offer the people of Tottenham an alternative. And there you have it. Vote for the Brexit Party because you need to collectivise for the benefit of your own racial group. The EU are the racist ones. They don't do anything for you. In the other article he wrote for The Voice, he said something very similar. He said, "The European Union was built for the benefit of European people. It was not built for the benefit of Caribbean, African, or Asian people. It turned its back on us. We must leave this corrupt club." How does staying in the EU even benefit black people? Can I ask you, Abdul, if I cleverly switch around your own question and put it back to you? And try not to get offended, but you probably will. But you ask how black people benefit from the EU, may I ask, how does Tottenham benefit from black people? Serious question, I'm not trying to troll you here, because you bemoan a European institution being set up with the perceived intention of helping European people. Well, how are actual European people being helped by mass immigration from outside of Europe? The sort of immigration you'd welcome more of with your closer ties to Commonwealth nations. Because if Tottenham is the end result of importing people from the third world, you know, with the crime, the shrinking British demographics, the continuous voting for morons like Lammy, if that's what Britain can expect more of if you get your totally non-racist Brexit, I have to say, mate, I'm not really on board. What's next? Are you going to tell me that Pakistani immigration's been good for Rotherham? Are you going to roll that one out? Let me wrap this up here. All this guy has done in these articles is admit he wants fewer white people coming to Britain. And he's tried to rally his particular racial group on the basis of their racial identity, which I take personally. Because again, the people being ignored throughout this whole entire mess are the native British people. We don't matter, you see, we don't. If we want Brexit for completely legitimate reasons, people like Abdul and the Brexit Party and everyone else will go to the media and say that what we actually want is a less racist immigration system. Yeah, what we actually want is less preferential treatment of French people and an easier pathway for Somalis. Let me put it like this, if Tottenham, instead of the current demographics it has, let's say, I don't know, Danish people were a majority in Tottenham, do you think Tottenham would have the problems that it has? I find it really hard to believe that it would. And you can look into the reasons why in your own time. But yeah, we want a less racist immigration system. No, idiot, just no. We never get represented honestly anywhere. We have grifters jumping on the bandwagon to steer public opinion into their own little channels. And while Abdul is bad enough with his white bashing, can I reserve a special word for Spiked Online magazine? Please, these absolute charlatans who will go on all day long about the dangers of identity politics, yet they'll allow a black racial activist under the guise of Brexit to write a big long article advocating for racial collective action in Tottenham in London before an election. Yeah, I'm not allowed to do that, but I guess I'm just not of the right demographic, eh? It's dangerous and ugly if I do that. But him, knock himself out, go for it. It's honestly pathetic. The publications, the politicians, the institutions that are holding us and our message back, totally spineless, and they deserve nothing but shit for it. The Brendan O'Neill, he'll continue going on Dave Rubin, he'll continue to go on the BBC and push this absolute garbage. Us? No, we get banned, we get doxxed, we get kicked off YouTube. No, we're not allowed a seat at the table. But hey, I've put the link to the Spiked article down below. Maybe you'd all like to go and leave some comments. And speaking of comments, I just saw this absolute corker. At last, someone with common sense and sees identity politics for what it is. A poisonous ideology that only divides people. Go for it, my friend. Hope you win. Unfortunately, I don't think that was sarcasm. Yes, well done for standing up against identity politics, Abdul, even though your entire campaign is about appealing to the black community. I'm red-pilled, look at me, identity politics bad, woo. Yeah, great. British politics in 2019, ladies and gentlemen. What more can I say? Thank you all for watching once again. God, this stuff is infuriating, isn't it? If you'd like to support this channel, usual methods apply. I have a Ko-Fi link down below, and you can still purchase a magazine if you fancy it. I'll see you soon, goodbye.